Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my Masters Bangkok group stage pick'ems. I'm going to pick all four games, at least for the first round, pick the four teams that I think are going to make it through Swiss, and kind of just talk about every matchup. I'll probably be updating this throughout the, what's it called, like throughout the tournament and whatnot. I'll definitely be doing a playoff or pick'ems. But yeah, this should be coming out the day before the event. I am recording this before I record any other video just because it's the fastest and easiest video to record, so I'm just gonna get it out of the way. Um, but yeah, should be a very interesting tournament. I do think the level of play at Bangkok here is going to be significantly higher than it was at Madrid last year. You had teams kind of getting messed up by the sky nerfs and everything like that, kind of having to redo a lot of their map pool and everything like that. So I think this year was going to be a little bit better in terms of that. Obviously, Teo getting introduced, teams are playing him. I also just think teams are better now and more easily able to incorporate an agent like Teo in and kind of rework multiple maps at the same time and stuff like that. But yeah, should be a very interesting tournament, especially with like multiple super teams that you really expect to be dominant throughout the rest of the year. Um, but yeah, with that, if you guys enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, everything like that. Go follow me on Twitter. I'll be tweeting out my player rankings as each region gets eliminated. So, like, if both Chinese teams go out in groups, I'll be tweeting out my. I guess well, China's the only one that I'm not gonna have player rankings for. Like I'm gonna start making them as I watch more China throughout the year. Maybe have some rough rankings out there or whatnot. But yeah, like if both Pacific teams get eliminated in Swiss, then I guess then yeah, I'm gonna tweet the Pacific player rankings out mid tournament. But if the NA teams or America's teams technically, but they are both NA, so I could say that I guess both get eliminated early, I'll do that. Or once a team goes out in playoffs, if they're the last in their region, kind of same thing like that. But yeah, go check that out. You can go check out my initial player rankings if you want to as well. Those are up on this channel. And yeah, let's get right into it. So we'll start with the four teams that I think will make it through to Swiss. I think the two obvious ones, I actually haven't even thought about this, are G2 and Vitality. Easily the two best teams going into this tournament, at least from looking in. Um, Two super teams. I mean, G2, I guess I would less count as a super team in terms of the way they were formed. It was kind of just a slow, gradual build up, kind of three players that came from nothing, adding in Leaf last year and then adding in Jogamo this year, which I mean, they have like top two players across the board in Americas. So, like, I would still count them as kind of a super team in terms of talking about them like this. But the way the roster was formed, I wouldn't really say that. Then I think the next obvious one will be EDG. I don't think their qualification games were quite as good, like in Chinese kickoff, but they always lock in at the international events. Obviously, when they didn't do as well last year, even at those events, I do think that they were better than what they were in the qualification games. So take with that what you will. Then I think it's between three teams for me: Sentinels, DRX, and T1. And I think if like DRX is playing against any of the other two teams for their game to qualify into playoffs, I think it's probably not going to go as well for them. Because I do think the experience diff from Sentinels and T1 will kind of override like what DRX really doesn't have. Like Hyunmin freeing, this will be their first lands. Bane, this will be his second land, and he's not like I mean, he's not as important of a player for them anyway, so it doesn't matter. Flashback, this will be his second land. Did he play well last time? I don't even remember how he did at champs, but could be important for him. And then this is Mako's second ever LAN as an IGL. So you do have some questions with them. So I am going to take them off of consideration. But then it's between T1 and Sentinels. I do think they both had pretty similar runs, except for the finals. I think Sentinels kind of locked in and figured everything out in the final. T1, not as much. So, and I also think Sentinels do have a little bit better of a read on the meta right now. So I am going to pick Sentinels. I think this is kind of a boring pick, like 4 pick. I think it will probably be something different, like maybe a T1 or DRX will sneak in there instead of one of these teams. But I would be shocked if G2, Vitality, and EDG don't make it. And now on to the actual game picks. G2 versus Trace. I mean, G2, obviously, we talked about it. Super team, most dominant kickoff run, in my opinion. Maybe, no, it definitely is between them and Vitality. Going up against Trace, who were definitely the worst of the two Chinese teams, but they did finally beat EDG and got that like upper final run and were the first team to qualify to Bangkok out of China. And I do still think like like Trace could be good at this event. Do I think they're good enough to beat G2? No. Like I do think there is a possibility that they or Liquid do make it out of groups, but I think it's highly unlikely just because of the quality of these top 4 teams. Even the top like 16 or like 5 or 6 teams, you could say. Then EDG, Liquid, 2 teams that will just swing you and fight you with confidence. I mean, obviously EDG, you got Kang Kang, who does that a lot. He does it a little bit less at lands. I think he is a bit more reserved and kind of doesn't throw, I guess, as much. Like maybe you would consider stuff that he does in China against some teams. Obviously, in the final, I think EDG played a little bit better, played a little bit more disciplined and everything like that. But I do think if this game does devolve into chaos, I would not favor Liquid in that at all. I think EDG is really good at playing within the chaos there, and should be able to beat Liquid in this matchup. And I also just think they have better individuals kind of across the board, even when Liquid's playing some insane Valor. T1 Vitality, two, I mean, the rosters of these teams are both really, really good, but I do have my questions about T1, whether it be like the comps that they're playing on certain maps, like their Lotus comp was definitely interesting. Or are they playing on Lotus? Let me pull it up. Raze, ISO, Sova, Cypher, and Omen. Uh, I mean, I don't think it was bad. I just think it's really interesting. Um, like they definitely have a very different read on the meta. They're playing double duelist on a lot of the maps, like Pearl, Lotus, Haven, Split. I think Bind's one of the few that they don't. So I would say Vitality does have a better read on the meta as of right now, and I would pick them in this game. I also just think across the board they have better individuals. Do you favor Durka or Buzz? I favor Durka. Let me actually like look at the rosters real quick. In terms of a head-to-head, like individually, do you favor Stacks or like Kicks? I would favor Kicks individually at this moment because just his individual form lately has been really, really good. Izu or Trex? I very much favor Trex, even though I do think Izu's very good. And then whether you favor, unless, I mean, I don't know who the hell's playing for T1. That's another question, whether it's Carpe or Sylvan. Either way, I do think Vitality should win this game, but I honestly think Carpe has been better. I would favor either one of those over Safe at an individual level. In terms of the calling, like overall in the team, like the mid rounding and everything like that, I would favor Vitality. And then I would favor less over Meteor as well. So I think across the board, Vitality have better individuals. T1 just don't feel like they're quite there yet as a team to be like maybe what their expectations for the year are. I do think they will kind of hit that throughout the rest of the season, but I don't think they will in terms of this event. Then DRX Sentinels. This one's the toughest one for me. I think this is the only one where it's actually really a choice because DRX was so good throughout all of pretty much stage 1, all of pretty much kickoff. They did have some slight choking issues against T1 both times in the upper final and in the grand final. I do think they kind of tossed some leads away, made it a little bit closer than it needed to be against in both of those games. But I do think overall their roster performed very, very well. Hyunmin looked really good. Freeing looked incredible, like best Teo in the world type of stuff. Mako kept up to his individual level, I'd say. He is an IGL now, so he does have some moments where it's like you wish he wasn't, where he would be that like mistake-free smokes player. Like he literally doesn't make mistakes, but now he does do some weird stuff where he'll just like walk out and make a decision that doesn't make any sense. Flashback's really good, and I think Bane's a solid player. I do favor Sentinel's roster talent overall. I think they have the best player in the world right now in Zekin. There we go. I can spell. In Zekin, I think Zelsis had a lot better of a tournament than he has recently. Like there were some games where he was doing some silly stuff where he was like team flashing his team, but overall, like his mechanics and everything looked a lot better. So when they got more used to playing Abyss throughout the tournament, like after the G2 game, they kind of locked in on that map. Zelsis started like playing better in terms of not flashing his teammates and still had that like individual level. Narrate throughout the tournament got a lot better on his non-fade rolls. That was my main concern with this team was can this team play Sova at all? Narrate really struggled at both of his Breach, his Omen, and I believe the Gecko that he played a little bit of. Yeah, he didn't look too statistically good on that. Yeah, like when he was playing anything other than Fade, like in the first like 3 games against 100 Thieves, Loud, and G2, it was kind of bad. But once you got into this MIBR BO5, when I mean the team overall kind of locked in, Neri played a lot better on the Omen on Abyss, even though it wasn't quite where you'd want it to be. And I think they just started leaning into his fate a little bit more. His Breach on Split against MIBR was really good as well, and then he played very, very well in the final. So overall, I think I'm just going to lean Sentinels. I know I just picked the 4 teams that I picked at the top here, and that's kind of boring. Honestly, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go DRX. I do think DRX is pretty good. I'm going to pick the 4 1 seeds, which might even be even more bedge. I don't know. But I do think Sentinels will be able to make the run through lowers, maybe have a little bit of a slow start once they get to the event. So these are my first round picks. 4 teams going through. G2, Sentinels, Vitality, and in EDG. Then in round 1, G2 over Trace, EDG over Liquid, Vitality over T1, and DRX over Sentinels. I do think all of these games do have potential to be flipped. If I were to rank them in terms of likelihood, I would say the DRX Sentinels, then T1 Vitality. Then I'd say EDG Liquid, yeah. And then G2 Trace. So, like, in reverse order, I think this is the most likely to be kind of a quote-unquote upset for me, then this, then this, then this. So, yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, everything like that. And I'll see you guys in the next one for probably roster move grades going into stage 1 for teams. I'm not exactly sure what it'll be, but... Or, actually, no, it'll be the next round Pickems. I'm stupid. So, yeah, see you guys for that video. And, yeah, peace.